Saturday, and we run through creepy little stories, fiction stories that have been written and posted on Reddit. And we are currently going through something called Don't Open the Door, which is written by Powderfresh86 on Reddit. Amazing stuff. If you haven't heard the first few chapters of the story, I have added them onto a playlist called Reddit Stories, and you can easily jump back, listen to those, and let it run into this newest installation, so don't worry if you haven't. So, as promised, I'm going to read parts 5 and 6 today. I'm very excited for this. So here we go. Mummy, wake up! Alana shook Jeanette softly, pulling her from her sleep. Jeanette sat up in bed and wiped her eyes. She looked around the room. Daniel, Jeremy and Alexis were still sleeping. The sun had risen and light was shining through the window curtain and door blinds. Jeanette looked at her nightstand clock and the time read 7:36 a.m. Alana's curly hair laid wildly across her head as her small hand caressed Jeanette's arm gently. Yes, baby, what's wrong? Jeanette asked, running her fingers through Alana's hair. I'm hungry, she said softly. Okay, let Mama go and find breakfast for everyone, okay? She responded. Jeanette carefully got out of bed, stepping over Alexis and Jeremy. She paused before reaching the door as fear gripped her. She didn't want to go downstairs alone. She turned around and walked stealthily to Daniel's side of the bed and gently shook him awake. His eyes jumped open and he abruptly sat up in bed, startling her and Alana. His eyes looked tired as he looked around the room in confusion. Babe, are you okay? Jeanette whispered, concerned. Yeah, sorry, I was having a nightmare. I'm awake now, he replied, shaking his head and rubbing his face. Can you come downstairs with me whilst I make breakfast, please? I don't want to go alone. Yeah, of course, Daniel replied, carefully getting out of bed. Jeanette instructed Alana to stay in the room with her siblings until they came and got them. She was to stay in the bed unless she needed to use the master bathroom. She wasn't to touch the door or the windows. If anything happened, she needed to immediately wake her siblings. Alana confirmed and laid back down, holding Jeanette's pillow like a stuffed animal in her arms. Jeanette and Daniel peeked in on Sophia and Eric. They slept soundly in Alana's room. They walked quietly down the stairs where Jeanette prepared oatmeal and toast for the house. Daniel checked out the windows for the entity, but everything looked normal except the bloodstains on the walkway. The street was empty, not a movement nor sound. By 8:20 a.m, Jeanette and Daniel had set the table and awakened the house for breakfast. Everyone came downstairs awkwardly and quietly, as if the night before was just a shared nightmare. They chatted in small whispers, mostly learning more about the channel Sophia, Eric and their friends ran. Jeanette wanted to know more information about the culling, but Sophia and Eric's knowledge was limited to campfire tales and hearsay. Nothing like what they had experienced the night before. Breakfast ended and Jeanette and Daniel and the children headed upstairs to wash up and dress, while Sophia and Eric used the downstairs bathroom. I'm done, Eric said, leaving the bathroom to Sophia. Thanks, she said, going in after him. Eric sat on the sofa and listened to the sound of running water coming from the bathrooms. His thoughts shifted to Jake and Melissa, especially Melissa, with the sprinkle of freckles that adorned her nose, her dark and sultry eyes, her naturally dark pink lips, and her thick, slightly wavy brunette hair. She was beautiful. She had always been so beautiful to him. Tears rolled down Eric's cheeks. He buried his face in his hands. He was suddenly filled with deep sorrow and regret when a familiar voice cried out at the door. "Eric, it's me, Melissa. I got away but I'm hurt. Please let me in." Eric jumped up from the sofa and stood frozen in silence. "Eric, can you hear me? Please help me." He ran to the door and looked intently at the monitor, but it had gone blank once more. He shook his head no and briskly turned away. "Eric, please, I need help. Please, Eric, open the door." Eric covered his ears as tears streamed down his face. "Eric, please, I'm so scared. Eric, please open the door." Eric kneeled down, holding his ears, crying harder. "Eric, I need you." Eric dropped his hands and turned towards the door. Tears streamed down his face. His hands shook as he touched the door, leaning against it. "Melissa, I'm so sorry," he replied in tears. "Eric, please, I love you. I love you, Eric." "Melissa." Eric reached for the lock when he felt the firm grip of Sophia's hand on his forearm. "No, Eric, don't," Sophia screamed. "Melissa needs me. I can't just abandon her," Eric cried desperately. "That's not Melissa, Eric. Melissa is dead," Sophia cried out. No, she's not." Sophia tugged on Eric's arm strenuously, attempting to pull him away from the door. Eric turned around and pushed her back harshly, knocking her to the ground as Daniel, Jeanette and the children ran upstairs after hearing the commotion. Eric undid the lock as Daniel jumped down the stairs desperately to reach him. Jeanette helped Sophia off of the floor. "No, Eric, don't open the door," Daniel, Jeanette, Jeremy, Alexis and Sophia cried in unison. Eric swung the door open, setting off the alarm. The morning light poured in along with the mostly invisible entity that cried out in many voices with a shriek, and the voice of Melissa repeating, "I love you, Eric. I love you. I love you, Eric," over and over again. Alana screamed as the entity grabbed Eric by the leg, snatching him to the ground violently. He screamed loudly as Daniel, Jeanette and Sophia grabbed his arms, pulling him hard. "Go upstairs. Lock yourself in a room now with your sister," Jeanette yelled at the children. Alana screamed and cried, running up the stairs into the bathroom. Jeremy and Alexis ran after her. Afraid, Alexis slammed the door and locked it. Jeremy grabbed a thick beach towel from the cabinet tower, rolled it quickly and stuffed as much of it as he could under the small crack of the door. Alana cried profusely as Alexis attempted to calm her down through a breathing exercise, though she was crying herself. Daniel, Jeanette and Sophia pulled Eric forcefully, walking backwards towards the staircase. Eric screamed out as a loud rip and the smell of blood revealed the entity had severed his right leg above the knee down. Blood stained the tan stairway carpet as part of the entity dragged the severed limb out the door, while other parts slowly crept into the house, shrieking in many incoherent voices. Daniel, Jeanette and Sophia dragged Eric up the stairs swiftly as he screamed, blood pouring from his leg. They ran into the master bedroom and slammed the door, locking it. Oh my god, what are we going to do?" Sophia cried out, panicked. "Calm down. I'm a nurse practitioner. We need to control the bleeding," Jeanette said, shaking as she looked at Eric's leg. The bathroom. The entity moved slowly up the stairs, silencing the alarm and shaking the doors violently. "Open the door," it demanded in many inhuman voices. Alana's screams turned into coughing and wheezing. Her cheeks flushed as she collapsed into her sister's arms. "Oh my god, Jeremy, she's having an asthma attack," Alexis cried. The sixth part. "Oh my God, Jeremy, she's having an asthma attack," Alexis cried. The entity cried out loudly at the door. "Open the door." "Calm down. Jeanette leaves medicine for her in almost every room," Jeremy said, opening the medicine cabinet with shaking hands. In the cabinet was an unopened prescription of albuterol. Jeremy grabbed it and opened it. Alana wheezed as sweat gathered on her forehead. Her lips turned a pale blue as Alexis cried, holding Alana in her arms. "Alana, breathe," Alexis screamed out. "Open the door! Open the door! Open the door!" the entity demanded. "Quick, hand me the clean towels from the bathroom, Daniel," Jeanette screamed, tearing open the rest of Eric's pants leg to fully expose the severed area. The entity shook the bedroom and balcony doors violently, causing goosebumps to cover Sophia and Jeanette. They tried their best to ignore its demands as they worked to stabilise Eric. Daniel ran from the bathroom with a stack of clean, folded bath towels in his hands. Jeanette grabbed one and carefully applied pressure to Eric's bleeding, elevated, residual limb. Eric screamed out in pain, tears rolling down the sides of his face. Sweat covered his forehead and body as his lips paled. Blood quickly stained the towel and dripped onto the already bloodied carpet. Jeanette applied another towel and instructed Sophia to take over, applying pressure. "Take off your belt," Jeanette instructed Daniel. Daniel threw the remaining towels on the bed and quickly undid his belt and handed it to Jeanette. She fastened the belt tightly 2 inches above the severed site and tightened it. Eric screamed louder, drool escaping his mouth. His eyes rolled back in his head as he blacked out. "Oh my God, is he dead?" Sophia cried out. Daniel joined Jeanette and Sophia on the floor and grabbed Eric's wrist. He checked his pulse carefully with shaking fingers. "He's alive," he said solemnly. "Mommy, Mummy, Mummy, I can't breathe." Alana's voice cried out from outside of the bedroom door. Jeanette looked up from Eric's leg at the door with teary eyes. "Alana," she said softly. Jeremy pulled the bathroom cabinet drawers open one by one swiftly, looking for a small face mask and spacer attachment that connected to the inhaler. Neither drawer had it, to his dismay. Alana's wheezing intensified as her face and lips turned blue. "Jeremy, please hurry," Alexis screamed out. "Honey, Mummy can help you. Open the door." Jeanette's voice cried out from outside the bathroom door. Jeremy ignored it and looked desperately in the cabinet under the sink. Alexis stared at the door, shivering. Jeremy grabbed a large white zipped-up bag. Inside were several small asthma spacer mask attachments. Jeremy grabbed one quickly. He shook the albuterol vigorously before letting out 3 puffs into the air. He attached it to the spacer and grabbed Alana from Alexis's arms. He held her small body as she wheezed, desperation, tears and fear in her eyes. He placed the mouthpiece firmly over her mouth and nose and pressed the canister, releasing the medicine for her to breathe in. "Come on, breathe, Alana," Jeremy cried out. "We're here, we can help, open the door." The voices of Daniel and Jeanette cried out from behind the bathroom door in unison. Tears rolled down Alana's face as she inhaled the medicine into her lungs. Jeremy counted mentally 120 seconds before releasing another puff of medicine into the spacer. "Open the door, kids. Open the door." The voices of Daniel and Jeanette demanded angrily. Alana's wheezing slowly stopped as her breathing stabilised. After a few seconds, Jeremy removed the mask and held Alana close. A rush of emotions hit him as he cried along with his sisters as they listened to the entity scream fiercely in the hallway. "Alana," Jeanette screamed out. "That's not Alana," Daniel said, grabbing Jeanette's face. Jeanette looked at him with tears in his eyes and nodded her head in agreement. "It's not Alana," Jeanette repeated. Jeanette tightened the belt a bit more until the bleeding stopped. Sophia grabbed a clean towel from the bed and replaced the soaked ones. Jeanette carefully wrapped Eric's residual limb with the towels. She motioned for Sophia to hand her the pillows on the bed, which she used to prop the leg upon. Eric remained unconscious on the carpet, his face pale and sweaty, his clothes soaked in his own blood. "We stopped the bleeding, but I don't know how long he can make it without emergency medical care. He's lost a lot of blood already," Jeanette said sadly. Sophia cried softly as she wiped blood from her hands on an unused towel. Daniel placed a small pillow under Eric's head. "Dad, we're hurt. Please open the door." The voice of Jeremy and Alexis cried out from the hallway. "What about the children, Daniel? What about our children?" Jeanette asked, the realisation of their separation kicking in. Daniel looked angrily at the door and reached down to assist a blood-covered Jeanette off of the floor. She stood up on wobbly legs. "Our children are intelligent. As long as they're together, they'll be okay," he replied, fighting back tears. Tears rolled down Jeanette's cheeks as she walked slowly to the bathroom to wash off, as the entity screamed angrily at the door. This is really heating up. Again, I need to show restraint. I'm not going to read ahead, I pinky promise, but this is really shaping up to be something. So, thank you very much for joining us here again today on Creepy Story Saturday. I hope you really enjoyed it, and like I said, if you've not listened to the previous parts of this or the last creepy story we did from Reddit, it's all in a playlist for you to look back on. It's just under Reddit stories, and I think there's also Let's Not Meet is also included in that playlist as well if you want to check those out. But I just want to thank you as always for your support. Every video is met with lovely comments. Every subscription, like and comment is just, it means the world, as you know, so thank you so much, and I'm not going to stop thanking you ever, so thank you, and I will see you next time in my next video. So until then, bye from me and my broken hand.